This programme was funded with the support of the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.
Hello, my name is Tom Brady and welcome to the series Living with the Border. The border cut off natural hinterlands, separated communities and neighbours that had lived together for years. While the hardships people suffered as a result of the border have been well documented, these programmes intend to look at the funnier side of living along the border. My guest today is John McGuinness, the Square Blackrock, a former bus errand driver with plenty of cross-border memories. John is a native of the village, as you will hear from him. He has great association with the sea and was a lighthouse keeper in the early days, and went on to become a cross-border bus driver with Bus Éireann. He has a great love for the village of Blackrock. The village has a population of approximately 4,000 people and is a popular seaside resort. The village was first noted in the Book of Dundalk in 1752. It developed as a fishing village in the early 19th century, and in 1841 the population was 507, with 95 houses, mostly thatched fishermen's cottages. And by 1845 several lodging houses were built to accommodate visitors, including Blackrock Hotel, Claremont Arms and the Swan. In the 1950s and 60s it was the main holiday destination for visitors from Northern Ireland and surrounding counties of Monaghan and Cavan. During the height of the border troubles, it suffered greatly, as Northern Ireland tourists stayed away. The Good Friday Agreement of 1998 has benefited the village. It had a famous dance hall in the 1950s and 60s and 70s called the Pavilion, and it was the principal mecca for young people from the surrounding area and beyond. It also had its tragedies. In April 1858, the Mary Studdart ran aground in Dundalk Bay during a prolonged storm. 7 crew members and 4 rescuers lost their lives, including a 25-year-old local fisherman, James Crosby. Welcome to the programme, John. You were a native of Blackrock. What was it like growing up in the village? What was the village like when you were young?
Well, in my early days, I was born on the 30th of July 1934, and Blackrock in my early days was a thriving place. There was a lot of tourists come to Blackrock for the summer. Them years, people didn't go to Spain or anywhere. There were no air flights like there is nowadays. And the Blackrock was the Break and the Claremont and all them. And there was Tim Quinlivan used to have the pub in the corner there, and all the other places around. They were all thriving during the summer months, right? And then as the time went on, that'd be now we say June, July, August, you know, and that thing. And then there was always a great. Always like activity around.
It was a great buzz. So
yeah.
You could see you had a swimming pool, a skating
yeah, the swimming pool. Yes, the swimming pool was beside the skating. My late father, Packy McGuinness, was a councillor for 40 years, and he died in '61. He was responsible for the building of the swimming pool. He got all the councillors to pass it at a meeting at that time. That you had to get the support of councillors throughout the county, you know, and they all voted for it, and that's how the swimming pool came. And when they started building the swimming pool in 1961, he died that thing.
And it was baths, was it baths?
Pat Callan had the saltwater baths up near the top of the village, near Boyle's shop, near where the pavilion was.
There was miraculous baths, was
there were saltwater baths.
Saltwater
yeah,
baths.
It was the tide. The saltwater, yeah. Pat Callan. And then he had the son, P.J. Callan, used to run it then after for a while.
Yeah, and you had the pavilion here?
Then the pavilion was a thriving industry there. There was a Jerry Wickham used to run dances in it. And we had all great bands playing it, bands like Mick Dillahunty, Jack Thunder, even Joe Laws played in it. Some English bands played over it. Yeah.
Would people come from the north?
They'd come, and I used to drive buses in my early days driving for the Violet, and I drive out from Dundalk. And I remember one night, Johnny Flynn was there from down the north, and there was a big crowd. He was a great attraction, and the crowds that was coming, and Raymond Halfpenny and myself were driving the buses out, and we started driving about halfway. The crowd, you see, there was no cars like nowadays, and they were queuing up for the bus, and we started bringing about halfway out to Blackrock, and in another crowd, in and out, and as soon as we had them all out, there was that many in the pavilion that they had opened all the side doors, because it was overcrowded actually. You wouldn't do it now. So, and then we only had them out and we started the taking. So I think there was one night when Johnny Flynn was there, and we were driving from about 8:30 continuous until about 2 or 3 in the morning to take them back in that night, and we dropped them off in Dundalk again at the monument. Oh yeah.
Now, so the highlight of the season was the 15th of August.
The 15th of August.
The Feast of the Assumption.
Yeah.
And would people come from Dundalk from the shrine at the?
Oh yeah, Ladywell Shrine. A lot of people come out for Ladywell Shrine. Yeah, that's right. Every 15th of August. Mainly Cavan Monaghan. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Did they call it the Farmers' Day?
That's a farmer. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
When did you first cross the border as a young person? Several times. Several times.
In my early years, I was fishing on the river.
Yeah.
With my father, and then I was a lighthouse keeper, right?
Yeah.
On the lighthouse. But then in that time, when I started driving buses, really, in the late 50s.
Before CIE, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I was driving with CIE, but I have crossed the border, when it was the old border.
And you have to go through the customs.
Oh, you had to go through the customs, yeah.
And where? At Carrigarran?
At Carrigarran. You'd Carrigarran, and then Killeen. There was the northern one on the northern side,
Would there be much smuggling at the time?
Oh, there was a lot of smuggling. There was butter now. Butter was. It was 3 and 6 years. It was only 1 and 8 over there, down there, or something like that. There was a good difference in the butter.
Will the customs take the butter off you?
Well, if you the last you had, they never bothered me as a driver, but I'd have it in the cab, but it never bothered with it. But they'd come in that time, Oh, there's still one or two. Neil, he was down in Mill Street, but anyway, they were all right, but they had their job to do in that start. And then who else? There's a lot of other customs. Paddy Monley up here. Paddy Monley's father was a customs officer too. He was in the dock port, So them, of course, it's great to see them days has gone now. I hope to stay that way, whatever is going to happen now,
And you were driving with Bus Airden.
When I drove, you see, I first of all, I started driving. When I went to work in London in '54, I was driving dumpers on building sites for waste builders. I was working out at Elstree Film Studios, and Jane Russell was there filming Paleface at the time or something. Jane Russell. And that's 1950, in the early middle 50s. But I started driving dumpers on building sites and lorries in London. And then I came home, and I was telling, when I come home, the boys would say, I was telling them what I was doing over there. And then Neely McCann, the fruiter, says, Rory Flanagan used to work from, they're all gone now, says, John, would you drive a lorry for us, you see? So that's, I started driving lorries with McCann's. And then they used to have a yard down behind McKeown's pub there, down there off Clonbrassil Street. And I used to drive lorries, and Phil Monaghan and all them people were with them there. That'd be lorries, and I used to drive to Dublin docks and to Belfast markets and Dublin and down to Fines, all them places. That's before he started driving buses now.
But when you started with Bus Airden, you crossed the border on tour before the trouble in 1969 and afterwards. Things were relatively peaceful before '69, wasn't it?
The what? Yeah, the what?
Things were peaceful.
There was grand. There was no
generally,
grand.
But things changed dramatically.
Yeah, it changed then. But still, when the troubles did start, that there was for a short time the busmen objected to crossing the border because of the danger. So then I remember for a short period I drove the bus down and I stopped at the border and I lay there. Say I'm on the 8 o'clock hour in Dundalk. Now it should be doing the 9 o'clock hour in Newry. I'd lay at the border until at Carrigaran until the time came that the work to say was back to Dundalk, by a Ravens there and all that. But then that didn't last too long, and eventually then I started going across the border. But the other drivers were reluctant, you know, I understand the position. And then I said to myself, there's people wants to go from here to there or wherever, and you must try and look after the travelling public, and that's it. But then eventually the boys, it all worked out all right.
And had you any scary experiences?
Well, I had that time the judge.
What was that?
Judge Gibson. What Gibson? What the judge?
Judge Gibson, his wife.
They just passed me before the blast went off. Yeah.
And could you tell us about that?
I was when I McNeil, the customs man, says, Sean, something's after happening. He heard the blast, and then we could see the smoke, and I thought it was at the customs post at Killeen. So anyway, so I go round now by back of MJ McDonald's, and I come out at the middle road, the other side of Kenny's Mill, and we just didn't come out at it, and it was there that it happened. And I drove round, and here was this car on fire, and you wouldn't think there was a sinner in it. And there's people going north and people going south, and other cars who caught up on it, you know. And but then by the time I was coming back out in Newry, I was diverted round over by Falkhill and that way. I didn't. They had it closed. That was when the judge and his wife was killed. He had a guard escort to the border, and then the northern police were the escort. But by the time they came, he was already gone. Him and the wife were already gone off the map. Yeah.
And
there was another time I was going into Newry in the morning. It was the morning evening. And then when I went in, there was a kind of hold up traffic. And next by God, what did I hear then? There was troops, the British Army were parading the town of Newry or something like that. And I was going in, it was in the evening time, when I went in the 4 o'clock service. And next week I could hear and there was snipers up on one of the places. You're going down along the canal to go to Monaghan Street. I could hear that and I could see that I seen this policeman, and he was and other civilians were talking to him at the time next to us, and I could see the smoke of the bullets on the flying off beside the policeman. Thankfully the policeman wasn't hurt, but see, some lad took a snap, just a quick pop. He wouldn't have time to aim because the troops are around you. Just one of the
and you used to have to bus people across the north from the railway station when the lines were blown up.
Yes, the Kilnasaga, yeah. That was very regular.
But that was dangerous driving too.
Well, then you had to be done. People had to travel.
Yeah, after Bloody Sundays was dangerous.
Well, it was the same Sundays to me. I know people had to travel. That was the way I looked at it. And we had a meeting. A lot of busmen. I was to say, if there's people who wants to go somewhere, I'd see what I can do. But there was for a short period. I only went to the border because none of us went, and then it pelted out after. Yeah.
You had a scary experience in Dundalk in 1972.
Oh, there was one day, yeah. That was the time I was coming in, that the boys were going up to burn the guards' barracks. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Continue on.
And I seen them, I was coming in passing Russell's there, and I seen these boys coming in. Then I come to this Orange corner, and the boys seen the bus. They went to try and hijack the bus off me. So I was turning off, and there was a few people on the bus, and I said to people to lay down. So I was going. If I had to meet them there another 100 yards, I'd have to. There was so many of them, you'd hurt some of them, you know. I was just turning off. Then he went straight up to the garage, thinking they were going up there, but they were going to the garage barracks in Dundalk to try to burn it down, that thing.
We'll take a break for your favourite song. What would be your favourite?
Well,
favourite song on the Lighthouse?
I know hundreds of songs.
No, but on the Lighthouse you sang...
Well, my first song on the Lighthouse was The Boys in the County Armagh, Brady Gallo. There's one fair county in Ireland, with memories so glorious and grand.
Sure, there's one fair county in Ireland, with memories so glorious and grand, where nature has lavished its bounty. 'Tis the orchard of Erin's green land, and I love its cathedral and city, once founded by Patrick so true, and it bears in the heart of its bosom the ashes of Brian Boru. 'Tis my own Irish home, far across the foam, although I've often left years in foreign lands to roam. But no matter where I wander, through cities near or far, sure my heart's at home in old Ireland, in the county of Armagh. And I travelled that part of the county, through Newtown, Corkhill, cross McGuinness, around by the gap of Mount Norris, and home by Blackwater again, where the girls are so gay and so hardy, none fairer in Erin go bra. But where are the boys that can court them, like the boys from the county Armagh? 'Tis my own Irish home, far across the foam, although I've often left years in foreign lands to roam. But no matter where I wander, through cities near or far, sure my heart's at home in old Ireland, in the county of Armagh.
You sing that song in the Lighthouse?
I used to sing that in the Lighthouse. And then the other lighthouse keeper down in the Rockabill, Jerry O'Brien, was listening. John, I'm going to sing a song, and he sings Ginny with the Light Brown Hair. And then it gained momentum, and I started getting fan mail from people in over in England and Warren Point, and I got one, remember this time, from Warren Point. I said, "Dear John, we enjoyed your singing on Saturday last of the good old County Down ball, the Boys in the County. What about giving us that good old County Down song next week, Dolly's Bray?" Now, I didn't know what Dolly's Bray was, but I believe it's an orange song. You kick the Pope over Dolly's Bray, it's the words in it.
So you like to see?
My ambition was to go to sea, and I wrote to a lot of shipping companies. I wrote to BB Lines and Liverpool Lines, and there was some other ships, Kelly's, and I'd get letters back from them acknowledging me now, but nothing ever came out of it, you know. And then I ended up being a bus driver.
So you went on a famous cruise one time?
I went on a cruise from Southampton on the 4th. My wife and myself went from the 4th of September for a week over to New York. And the Queen Mary, the present Queen Mary, it was only her first or second trip to New York. And he was on, and Marty Whelan was on at that time too with a cruise. Marty Whelan, I was with Marty then. I snapped somewhere there with Marty too. And yeah.
So you met a Dundalk man on the streets of New York?
I did. Who's this that was now?
A young lad called Sheridan.
Who?
Sheridan.
Sheridan, that's right. He knew me. We were walking, and he was looking for where was such a place, and as it turned out, that's right. What Sheridan was he? What yes, you're bringing them things back to me. I remember that. And we were. See, I had a sister out there in New York, and that was '86. We were out there in '86 first in New York. And then we've been out of since that because we have a daughter living over there in Martha's Vineyards, you know. Brenda. Second girl, she's there.
So you celebrated your golden wedding?
We're 52 years married.
Yes, what's your name?
Maureen.
Maureen, yeah. 53 years.
She's married by... The morning we got married, she's always known as Maureen. Because I might have been a bus driver. She's happy with one of me many passengers. And I was when the conductor was with me, Peter Fanny, with the front door entrance coming, and Peter said, "Hello, Maureen." So then I knew her, you see, and I said, "How are you, Maureen?" And then one thing led to another. When we got married in St. Ure Church in 1964, she's saying, "Mary." I said, "I thought your name was Maureen." yeah, but Mary, but Maureen, she's always known her. That's that, yeah.
I want to marry a lighthouse keeper and keep him company. I want to marry a lighthouse keeper and live by the side of the sea. I'll polish his lamp by the light of day so the ships at night can find their way. I want to marry a lighthouse keeper, won't that be okay? We'll take walks along the moonlit bay, maybe find a treasure too. I'd love living in a lighthouse. I dream of living in a lighthouse, baby, every single day. I dream of living in a lighthouse, a white one by the bay. So if you want to make my dreams come true, be a lighthouse keeper, do. We could live in a lighthouse, a white one by the bay. Hey, won't that be okay?
The Good Friday Agreement of 1998 brought generally peace and prosperity.
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah, it has. Well, I was just retiring around that time, 99.
Did it help Dundalk?
Well, it has helped, yeah. It has helped Ireland as generally all over.
And has trade returned to
I think
Black
so,
Rock?
yeah, trade has returned. Yeah, you can see a good bit of activity around, yeah.
But there was a black period in Black Rock during the Troubles. People weren't coming from the north.
Ah, well, sometimes, yeah, but I never survived. There was always someone coming. They didn't have to come from the Northern Ireland, you know.
Yeah.
They came from other parts of Ireland, you know. No.
You were a county councillor.
I was a county councillor. I was a Fine Gael man from my father was a councillor for 40 years. He died in 61, and my brother then, when he died, was co-opted Jim, and he died. And then I went on the council in 77. And around 76 or 77, I was there till, and I was in the Dundalk Harbour Board, and I lived in Louth for the Harbour Board, and then I had good knowledge of the harbour with the river and fishing in the lighthouse and all like that, you know, and I was very interested in the working in the harbour, and I felt that the harbour was very important at the time because when you have ships coming into a port, because maybe 8 or 10 or 12 crew members. And they have to go, if they're in for a night or two, they have to go ashore. And then, if they have to get stores on the ship in some port, it might be Dundalk, it might be the next port, but often in Dundalk, and they're going, it's a spin-off. It's an industry when your ship's coming in.
And as a councillor, had you much contact with your counterparts in more than you?
Not much, no, I didn't have, but in that time, but no, I didn't have really much contact with Northern Ireland. The only contact I had with Northern Ireland was when I was doing me bus tours. And I like Northern Ireland, it's lovely. Nicest, beautiful part of Ireland.
You liked it?
I like Northern Ireland, yeah, I like it. And the roads in particular, you know, and all like that. And it's well signed and everything like that, you know.
And how far would you go north on the tours?
Oh, I go up to the Glentavans from Staines Causeway. Oh yeah, I couldn't go any more. Next to Scotland. No, I couldn't go any further. Just did the coast road out from Larne, away out that way, well. Yes, that's right.
Just Brexit, you heard of Brexit?
And yeah, but I don't know much about it at all. Right?
But how do you think it's going to impact on the border?
I hardly know. Well,
would you like to see the return of customs ports?
No. Things as grand as they are. That's the unfortunate part. These things might happen. No. I wouldn't like to see it come back to the old way. No. It's grand now. There's last 5 people going freely crossing there on the border. When I used to drive the buses down, I'd be doing a tour, and I'd tell the people, you see, I had 52 on the bus, or 55, whatever it was, passengers, and there'd be a mixture of Irish, foreigners, Americans and everything. And this day, when I'd be driving down to the mountains of Moore, we said, you're past Carrigaran, and then you come to the Killeen Customs, and then you come to a point where this is the south and this is the north. And I'd stop one half of the bus this side and the other half that side. And I'd go and tell the people on the bus now, say, just let you know, you're now in Ireland. Now, the people in the back of the bus are in the south of Ireland, and the people in the front of the bus are in the north of Ireland. You see, one half of it was in the north and the other half. Then I drove down, when I drive on a few more feet, down, we're all in the north, you know. That's the way I used to explain to them the divide for the there, before you go to Carrigaran.
Yes.
And before you go to Killeen.
You know the difference in the road surface?
Well, yeah, you know, yes, you go from one bad to a better road now, tell you the truth.
Yeah, and
I knew that.
The telephone boxes were red.
The telephone box in the north were all red, that's right.
And the speed limit is in miles.
It's in miles, that's right.
Kilometres up here.
We have kilometres here, yeah, that's right.
You were known as the captain.
The boys that called me that.
How did you get that name?
Some of them were the skipper. Yeah, because I'd be round the quays in Dundalk, and there'd be boats would be tying up, and then someone give me that, and they called me the skipper and the captain. I didn't. It just happened to call me because I have good knowledge. I have good knowledge of the sea. Well, I never was at sea. My ambition was at one time to go to sea. I have good knowledge of the sea, and then being a lighthouse keeper and all of that, you know. And someone nicknamed me that. They called me the skipper.
Thanks, John, for sharing your memories with the listeners. The border is deeply symbolic and politically significant. But for those who live or have lived near the political boundary, it is a matter of ordinary efforts of dealing with its practical presence in everyday life. This became more difficult during the period of the Troubles from early 1970s to mid-1990s, when crossing the border meant being subject to both customs and army police checkpoints. Paramilitary violence was at its height, and there was casualties on all sides. Border crossing points were increased, unapproved roads were blocked, and watchtowers were erected. However, daily life for the border people had to go on. While it marks a political boundary, it was the practicalities of daily living and the inability to move freely across the border that was of great concern to most people who lived on or near the border. Where people live in relation to the border means being subject to a different set of state laws and regulations, systems of education, taxation and state benefits. Though laws and regulations have not differed radically on either side of the border, these differences have been and continue to be a matter in the borderlands where many aspects of people's lives span the border. My guest next week will be Joe Mulligan, new to Balregan, Dundalk, a former principal in Sheila National School, Hackbus Cross, which is in the parish of Creggan and adjacent to the border. He will recall his memories. Goodbye from Tom Brady, and thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the programme.
This programme was funded with the support of the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.